everybody. Oh, this is a little fun this morning. Welcome to our fifth session of the Somatic Experiencing Community Conversations. So glad to have you all here. I'm watching the numbers rise as we're getting started. So welcome back again on this Friday where we've all been sharing this peculiar circumstance of a global pandemic, all the interesting, difficult, and powerful and tender ways it's affected us all has caused us to come here together today. So just really want to welcome everyone who's coming on the line. My name is Ami Lee, and I'm the Director of Public Health Initiatives for the Somatic Experiencing Trauma Institute, who is happy to present this series to you with something particular in mind. We have called this series the Community Conversation Series because it was really important to us to create a program, first of all, for all the people in our community, our SE practitioners, our SE students, friends of the Institute, but also just broadly for any sort of wellness practitioners around the globe who can be enhanced and supported by the neurobiological interventions and the methods of relating that we share under the modality of the somatic experiencing principles founded by Dr. Peter Levine. So the purpose of these gatherings, which many of you know, but in case you're new with us today, may not know. Actually, if you're new with us today and you know how to do this on your screen, go to where you can raise your hand, and raise your hand if this is the first session you're joining us for. Oh, good. Okay, good. Then I know this is important. I'm seeing those numbers go up. 4, 5, 15, 16, 17, 20. Okay, good. There's plenty of you who are new. Go ahead and take your hands. Oh, well, keep your hands up. It's fun for us to see that there's newbies here. That said, the point of this gathering is that we could present to you a series where we're giving you information about somatic experiencing, where we're telling you how to do telehealth, where we're giving you instructions and methods to handle life in these times. And while those things may occur in the context of the time we spend together today, really, we wanted to create and explore ways to create actual connectivity in this kind of a format. It's important to us that social engagement is a really essential feature of having a healthy nervous system. So we've all been exploring with you how to create real social engagement in this kind of strange dynamic space. That sounds in a strange dynamic space. That's where. So I invite you for a moment to reflect on how many people are here with you. I'm glad you're listening to me. Thank you. I'll yammer a few basic things before we get started, and I appreciate you being with us for that. But I invite you, as you're listening, to begin to start thinking and noticing that you're not here alone. There are already hundreds of people on the line with us right now who are here for their own reasons, their own needs, their own desires to be here. But I want to invite us all to be here and be connected to everyone who's joining in on this call. So some things first. We're very, very happy to bring you this as a resource, complementary and supplemental to programs out there on how telehealth. You can find wonderful sources at the EA's website, even the American Association of Massage Therapists, body workers, all sorts of mental health and bodywork institutes are providing resources on how to do telehealth. I want to also refer you to our webpage, which is traumahealing.org/resources, where you can see we're starting to put together every kind of video and opportunity to engage in SE support as a resource for you in these times. So go ahead and look at traumahealing.org/resources for our COVID-19 set of things for you. We are really striving in these times to create more direct service programs. Traditionally, we've been a training institute where we train mental health and body work, yoga teachers, functional medicine, alternative medicine. We teach folks the somatic experiencing principles through a 3-year training program. But we've moved in this time to try to do direct service outreach as much as possible. In fact, you, as therapeutic and wellness practitioners in the world, are essentially one kind of frontline worker So just acknowledging for a moment, you are maybe even holding some of the experience of the world while being uniquely qualified to help bring peace or resolution or healing, which in my mind and the minds of many of us at the Institute makes you a frontline worker, maybe from your own living room or even your own cars, where we know people are having to practice in unusual circumstances these days. So we want to really support you with as many programs as we can. This is one. We've asked you to register if you want to be a volunteer when you signed up for this, and you've been communicating us via communications@traumahealing.org if you'd like to collaborate with us. I want to thank you all for that. Tell you we have received your interest. We are developing programs and we're getting ready to send out an email to you to ask for more information of how you'd like to collaborate with us, get some details so we can move the next phase of our direct COVID response forward. So keep on the lookout for that, and know that if you're wondering, am I going to hear from them? Yes, we've got your info, and we will keep you informed as we go into the next phases of our direct response. So for direct response, the other thing I'd like to add is that we're not collecting any revenue at this time for the kind of services we're offering. It's really important to us as a charitable nonprofit organization to be a resource without just always tagging that up to a fee-based structure. So we really wanted to provide this as a free service. You'll hear me ask a couple of times, like a champion NPR fundraiser, to ask you to donate to us today. I'm going to do that again now. I want to ask you to go to traumahealing.org/donate at some point during this session, if you wouldn't mind, or I'll give you instructions also of how you can send a text message to 26989 that says support SE as one word, and you'll get instructions on how to donate. It costs us about $3,000 to do each one of these sessions. And I don't mean to tell you that to be crass. I mean to tell you that to show you that we're all in. We're all in for you. If I could even raise half of that back today, you will not hear me have one more pitch to ask for donations. So if anybody on the line wants to donate now, you won't have to hear me ask again if we can hit even half of what it costs to run today's session. With the tech support, the faculty, and all the staff hours that go into creating this, it does actually come at a cost, and we thank you for letting us know this is worthwhile to you and that you would like more of it and that this might be meaningful. So that said, thank you for letting me share that with you in this space. We'd really, 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 really love to bring you on screen with us when you ask a question. People have been communicating to us that it's really meaningful to see each other's faces. Some of you have been in classes together. It's just really wonderful to see the affect of another human engaging with others in these days. So if you're willing to have yourself brought online in video, when you put your question, I'd ask you at the end to put video okay or video not okay. It takes a little time each time I audibly ask people, but if it says video okay, I'll just let you know I'm about to queue you up and bring you over, and we won't do all the intermediary steps we've been doing each week. So ask your question in the Q&A. At the end of your question, put video or no video. If you'd like just audio but no video, that's also fine too. Just please specify. If it's not specified, we will go ahead and just ask you directly each time too. So if this is too much, I'm gonna breathe right now with you too. But we can go ahead. So right now in that little Q&A, just to get familiar with everyone who's here, I invite you to test it out by putting in your name and where you are chiming in from. We know our faculty today are both international faculty members who teach around the world. By the way, Somatic Experiencing is available throughout the United States, but in 62 countries around the globe. And that's who's been joining us every week. Our list has had people from Afghanistan, the Middle East, Australia, Southeast Asia, India. We welcome you all on the line. So I'm gonna look over here and see what's popping up here in the list. I see Minnesota, I see Santa Barbara, I see Denver, Liana from Italy, we've been praying with y'all, Italy, Northern California, Vancouver, Canada, DC, Canada, Montana, all right, this is great, Dartmouth, Canada, Sarasota, Florida, London, UK, hi, Lisa Kelly, Wendy Garrett in East Hampton, Massachusetts, more Vancouver Island, Oh, this is great, guys. Oh, it's just exploding. Portland, Oregon. Okay, guys, you're gonna love what we have in store for you. Oh, it's just so Vermont, Hadley, Cordelia Bellin in Belfast, Barba Parigi in Italy. I'm sorry if I'm murdering your name, guys. It's my occupational hazard up here. Okay, so thank you. We're all just getting on there. We've just seen 1,000 people. I'd encourage y'all to pop in that Q&A, start looking at who's here, get a sense of what's going on. And I'm also going to invite you here in the beginning to take a little deeper breath with me and go ahead and start imagining at this moment who is in the room with us right now. We're getting a sense of how big the room is. The room is the whole world at the moment, BT dubs, like everywhere. And who's here? What are they here for? What are their needs? Use your imagination. And if you want to go further, go ahead and use the Q&A. And for a moment, just put, what is it that had you got online today? What's moving you? For some people, they might be here because they were moved by their own personal suffering, where others might be moved for the joy of connection. We ended last session with so much joy and connection. It was really fun. Other people may be coming because they really need help, guidance, and advisement. There could be grief on the line. There could be just connectivity. There could be a desire to just learn and stay active. So I invite you to go ahead on that Q&A and share maybe a little something about what brought you on today, just for us all to expand our imagination. And in a virtual way, look around. Notice who we're here with. How do we use our imagination to look around? I am so excited. So with no further ado, let's look around and look. I'm going to bring 2 beautiful faces online. I am very pleased to introduce you all to Glyndie Nickerson and Berns Galloway, both of whom are faculty members at the Somatic Experiencing Trauma Institute who teach around the globe. Glyndie teaches in the US and Ireland, holds a Ph.D. in clinical psych, and integrates SE with early developmental attachment work, SE touch work. It's really interesting depth of our field. Stay tuned for a lot more of that maybe today and next week. She explores embodied presence as the ground for spiritual development. And Glyndie is currently investigating the use of rhythm in healing trauma. Berns Galloway, who's coming to us today from Canada, brings his array of life experience, which goes all the way from teaching elementary school to studying humanistic psychology and bodywork approaches to somatic experiencing. He works as a mental health therapist in community health and supervises graduate students' practices while having his own practice. He teaches beginning, intermediate, and advanced years of the SE professional training in the US and Canada. So I'm very delighted that we're here. We might have an awesome session. I mean, it's possible. We could have a great session today. We might have a terrible session. This might be like the worst session we ever have. I mean, I don't want to let you guys know, like, no pressure. You know, it's just going to be whatever it is. So that's the way. But we will start this as we've started others, just for sake of continuity. The title of today's session is Trusting the Collective While Finding Our Way. Can I ask you if you might begin by weighing in on that, and then cue me up when you'd love me to bring on some folks on screen or some questions for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ami. And I'm just so happy to have Berns on with us, because in the sense of trusting the collective, Berns has been a mentor of mine, and I have really watched him do such beautiful work in terms of that trusting of what happens and unfolds in an SE training, and love the way he's inclusive of everybody that's in the room. So thank you so much for being here, Berns.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I'm also nervous, and so I just want to name that, and that my nervousness may impact my fluency, and my stuttering might be a little more obvious, which just want to name that's what I do for those who haven't met me or haven't worked with me. And I'm hoping my excitement, though, has a pretty significant influence over being more fluent. And just as I speak, I can hear a little bit of shakiness in my voice because I am moved to be here and to come into connection in some way that is a mystery. And this idea of the collective, when I first had that thought of, oh, this is what we're going to focus on today, or this is something we're going to talk about today, is it's a very big thing, this collective, whatever it is. And I don't know how to name it or how to talk about it, but I have an experience of it. And so as we were moving forward in coming on in this moment, and as Ami was talking about who's here, and this collection of people, collection of life forces that are coming together with some intention, I like something happens. There's a response. There is an impact. And so what I want to invite everyone to do is just to notice the impact of being here and being where you are. So we're in this place, as you know, we keep hearing, we're in this place together while being apart. So we're here and we're here. So we're here together and we're here at home. So I'm at home, and the invitation is to notice where you are. And it may not be the room you're in, just where are you? It may be about the room, maybe about the chair, the floor, the bed, wherever you are, and you're here with us. Whoever is here, you're here with us to some degree. So I invite you to just notice that and the impact that has. And that we are sharing that. Whatever that is, we are sharing that in our individual ways, and then in this collective way. We're sharing that.
And I really appreciate the pauses that you're introducing, Berns. It's all to take some time to be in the moment together.
Well, I have this theme that I talk about at work with participants, is that there's nowhere to go and there's nothing to do. And so here in this gathering, there's nowhere to go. And you may all notice these pauses today, and noticing what happens for you when there's a pause. What is it you do? Is your attention drawn somewhere else? Are you distracted when there's a pause? And what happens when your attention goes to where it goes? And that's just a theme that I highlight wherever I am in the work, is something gets our attention and then there's a response. And so I invite you to be noticing where your attention goes and what the response is.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you're also inviting people where they are, in the sense of kind of, there's nowhere to go. If we are always going outside of ourselves, there's a certain kind of trap in that. And when we really are able to go within and have that be our kind of basic ground from which we then connect, there's so much more space and choice in that.
Mhm. And that Ami named this strange dynamic space that we're in, or participating in, or creating, or avoiding, or saying no to, or saying yes to. It's just noticing how it is to be in the space, whatever space it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all in a space, and from time to time you'll see me look over this way because I have a window and it looks out onto trees. And so I look out as a way to support myself, to have a particular experience I prefer than being locked onto the screen. So even though you're not being seen, except by yourself perhaps, feel free to not look at this all the time. I'm not going to look at it all the time. It's just, I need the pause, the break. And it's a bit of a rest. And I think in this time, resting is a little bit challenged, or a lot challenged. So if you think about the quality of the rest you're getting these days, how is that experience of rest? And then as a practitioner, when you're working with people, are there moments of resting with who you work with? That's not about sleeping. It's about resting. It's about not working. It's about allowing the space and the time for the body to rest, which is just as important, or maybe more important, than the work. We need the rest breaks. We need the pauses. The body, working from a somatic perspective, our body is doing something all the time. And then as we do this work of what we're calling trauma renegotiation, it puts a demand on our body, on our physiology, on our psychology to change. That's expending energy, and then we need to rest.
And I love that, as you're introducing the idea of orienting yourself, this is something that helps free up a client too, who's working with you, to be able to feel free to follow their own impulses rather than be locked on in this way on the screen, which may really elicit some unpleasant or not so favorable responses inside the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And with the sense of rest, what you're addressing with the sense of rest, it's like, to me, the word being comes to mind, that sense of resting into being, resting into a sense of something where there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, no agenda, and just being okay with that. Even if that means in the resting in the moment that there's tension or there's something that's uncomfortable. It's like just saying, okay, I accept that for right now. And I'm just going to stay connected with that and see what happens without trying to change it. And that can be such a source of replenishment. And for me, there's been times when I've been very tense or feeling a little constriction the last few weeks. And when I rest inside, there can be that voice that says, it should be different. I don't like this. But when I just keep being with it, something softens even just a tiny bit. There's something that softens somewhere. And that's where that embodiment helps, the tracking the body, so that we can actually register that rather than staying up in the thoughts with, this isn't working, this isn't working. Does anybody else relate to that? You can vote that up if you'd like. when we have that sense of intensity that's there and we don't like it, but something can shift when we go, yeah, I'm feeling, you know, some uncomfortable feelings right now. And at the same time, I can also make a wee bit of space just to be.
So there was a little bit of information shared in the beginning about where people are coming are from, or calling in from, or tuning in from. And so I'd like to know more about who is here with us. So, so I've got a list of ways that we might identify ourselves. And so if you're willing, as a participant, viewer, to identify by raising a hand from the technological perspective, Ami will count how many people are identifying from these various ways of how we can be in the world. So Ami, are you all set for that?
I sure am.
All
And
right.
let me just ensure one thing. If you don't know how to raise a hand, I believe you can at one place at the bottom of your screen, you should see a button to raise hand. That's what we mean when we're saying raise your hand. And
Right.
Click on participants and then you'll see.
we've practiced this game a little bit. I call it the get to know you game, just to antagonize Berns a little bit. But when we do this and he runs some questions by you, in between the questions, I'm going to lower all hands again. So you might raise your hand to respond to one. We're going to get a count and then go on to a next one. And in between each one, I'll lower your hands just so we can try and keep the numbers good. So 8 people are already raising their hands right now. And so raise your hand if you're just feeling good. That's where we're going to start. Raise your hand if you're happy to be here. Okay, we're getting up to 30, 45, 40. It happens fast, but sort of also a little slow and glitchy because 82 are happy. The rest are like, forget it. I don't want to be here. They're exactly how we wanted them to be, guys. They're being authentic. They're like, no, this is awful. I don't like it. I don't want to be here. I'm not raising my hand. Just playing, everybody. So we have about 100 people are raising their hand each time right now. So that's definitely not even half of everybody who's here, but those are the people who are going to be maybe participating in this next.
Everybody's virtual hands are working.
Virtual hands. And just even as we say that, I want you guys to know this was the first time we asked people to report on how things were last week and how they're doing now. And there's so many greetings being shouted out to Berns that I cannot not let you know this. Like everybody who can see the Q&A sees that. So many people are like, your students from around the world. We've got greetings in Gaelic from Mary Kay Mullen. I'm not going to test how bad I can murder words by trying to say that greeting. We've got Helena, who had you as a teacher, Avdeep, Elena, Diana, Kate, Maggie, Beth Cole, Helena. People are from India, Bangalore, and Pakistan are greeting you, and everyone loves your shirt. Maybe not everyone. People who already said so, but probably everyone. So I'll go ahead and lower all hands, but that just brings us more into a sense of like,
right,
who's really here?
All right. So how many live alone? How many people live alone?
20, 30, 41, 42, 43, 44. Going up. So we've got 44 people are saying that they live alone.
Great.
All right, I'm going to lower your guys' hand.
And then how many of you live with children?
4, 18, 30, 38, 42, 51. Like I'm playing bingo. What numbers in front of me? Letters. I feel like we should be winning. We are winning. 52.
Yeah. How many of you identify as cisgendered male? You were born male and identify as male today.
3, 4, 5, 6. Welcome, guys. It's a little bit of a classic psychology classroom when I see that. It's always a little odd. So that number there is we have about 6 who are raising their hand right now.
How many identify as trans?
One, 0, 1, 2, 1. People trying to figure out how to raise or lower hands.
How many identify as queer or gay?
5, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 17. So if we have about 100 people playing the hand raising game,
Okay.
about 15 to 20%.
Right. And you know, I feel it's tricky to find out about this piece, but how many of you would identify as a person of color? I'm just like, oh, it's like that phrase sometimes isn't well received, but I'm not sure how else to ask.
3, 12, 19, 20, 22, 21. So maybe somewhere between 20 and 25%.
Right. And how many of you would say that you have a spiritual practice?
24, 62, 87, 104, 124, 130, 135, 137. Didn't we say there were only about 100 people playing the hand raising game? So about 105%
Great.
of the people playing the game do.
So it gives me and it gives you a sense, you know, just a small sense of who's come together and what we're, you know, some of the pieces that we bring of how we identify ourselves, how we place ourselves in the world, and how that impacts our experience and the experience of those who come to see us or work with us or who we come into contact with. So I like to have a sense of who's here, what part of the world, what part of life is being represented in this gathering, in this moment. And there's more ways that we can identify ourselves, but that identity, right, has impact. And if we were in the same room together, there'd be even more of an impact. And so we get to have this. And so thank you for being here and welcome. And as quite often for me, it's like, I don't know what'll happen today. And I like that. I have some idea of what I don't want to have happen, but what will happen is about to unfold even more. So I wonder if now might be the time, Ami, to move into the video part. And so my reason for this is again in support of a response. And I have an intention of having you watch and listen to a short video of movement of water and the sound of water, and to be noticing if the sound and the patterning of the movement has an impact on you that you like.
Thanks.
You might need to turn the volume of your own computer down a little bit. So just notice what. So if we could come back. So I'm curious about your response to that. I'm curious about if there's any connection to rhythm. So part of my intention was, does the patterning that we get to hear or see stimulate something about rhythm for you? There's an impact to the rhythm of our lives right now. And we've fallen out of it, or some of us have fallen out of the rhythm. And one of the marks of being overwhelmed is that the rhythm of our lives becomes different. So I think one of the reasons I like to look out the window at the trees, especially the Glyndie, there's a rhythm there. Maybe not patterned as in predictable. There's something about that movement. And I live by the water. I'm privileged to live right by the water. So there, I can just walk up there and watch the waves. And there's a rhythm to that. And so I'm curious if there is anybody who wants to make any reference or comment about their experience of where they find rhythm in their lives now that feels helpful or supportive.
Yeah, we could bring on someone who wants to respond on video if you'd like. Berns, or were you thinking?
Sure.
Hi there, Veronica.
Hello.
Well, would you like to share a little bit? And then we have Paula coming on too. I'm curious, Veronica, what your experience was. Rhythm.
So I am a person, I have hard of hearing. I'm a hard of hearing. I have hard of hearing issues, and my experience with finding rhythm can be a struggle, because sometimes in reference to the audio, sometimes noise can just feel like static or too much. It overwhelms my sensory, my central nervous system. So I'm always trying to check in and follow the rhythm of like how my heart is beating. Sometimes it's even subtler, like the shift of wind or...
So subtle rhythms are easier for you to be with, or how would you describe that?
It depends on how I'm able to calm myself down after feeling overwhelmed with senses, especially with noise. And so it's a journey. It doesn't happen fast. Sometimes it's just hard. I just kind of give myself that space to want to just be just the way it is. It isn't an easy thing for me. Sometimes I need somebody to help me find my rhythm. And but it's difficult. And with the COVID and having everybody cover their faces and I can't hear them, it can take me out easily. So finding my rhythm is hard, especially around this time. And so that's where I'm at. But I appreciate the visual that came in with the oceans, because it helped me focus on my memory of the ocean. And that's how I started to kind of feel more relaxed. And
visual helps. visual helps of the ebbing and flowing, the visual rhythm.
Yes, yes. And that kind of helped me go internally and notice how I was responding visually and trying to connect with the rhythm of the oceans and the waves. So,
Right.
Sorry, I'm a little tearful.
That's great.
Nervousness.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
I live in Mill Valley, north of San Francisco, California.
Thank you.
So I'm outside getting some sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing some of the rhythms that you have around you with the chimes and the little waving of the branches and the wind there.
Yeah, I have my earpiece, so I can't hear the chimes, but I can feel the wind and how it's kind of just softening, and it helps calm me down.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Paula, anything you want to share?
I didn't hear that.
Oh, is there anything you'd like to share?
Me, Paula?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that I'm so delighted to see you, Berns.
Thank you.
Yes. I guess I've been exploring because I have a background in a number of different movement practices and somatic practices, and I've been exploring from a body-mind centering perspective a rhythm of breath that is, Bonnie Bainbridge-Cohen identifies it as mental breathing or embryonic breathing, and it's kind of like going underneath the tone of the outer breath, which is, you know, these sort of bigger waves that we feel in our belly and our chest, and kind of dropping underneath that into this place where the breath kind of has this sort of spreading sense. And at the same time, I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and the woman said that one of the ways that she was resourcing herself was that she had discovered the Monterey Bay Aquarium live jellyfish cam. And so I have 2 screens in my study, and the jellyfish are pretty much there all the time. And there's something about this, the pulsation of that rhythm, that I have found to be incredibly nourishing. And because it's so fluid, and because the embryonic breathing also has a sort of cellular and fluid quality to it, those are rhythms that I've been aware of. I've also just lost a dog yesterday. And so I've been really aware in tracking her of all of the different bodily rhythms that have become fragmented and disrupted as she was declining. So there's that as well.
I think that speaks so well to that there are so many rhythms and associations to them, and even moving out of a rhythm or out of a norm moves it into another one, and it may not be one we like,
Right.
but there is another one. Well, there's still the jellyfish, there's still that patterned movement that is so, almost hypnotic, isn't it? Just this lovely thing that has an impact.
Yeah.
And then we have another impact. And so they're both there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Glyndie. Thank you.
And Elizabeth, did you have something to share?
I'm a BMC practitioner also. Hi, Paula.
Oh.
The ocean image was so magnificent for me because, what I was most aware of was the visual relief, because it took up my whole screen and there wasn't a face to focus on. And then the sound was loud and it kind of washed over me the way the ocean holds you in its hugeness. And I just felt held by that, by something bigger than myself. And also the relief to my sympathetic nervous system to go into the width. And then I suppose another piece of it is that I have a lot of positive associations with the ocean. And if I even just imagine seeing the ocean in my mind's eye, I'll shift into a wider, more lower tone place in my nervous system. So it gave me a lot of relief. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And it's funny, I felt the same thing, a kind of a widening of my peripheral vision and a softening and actually kind of looking further out to see in that visual and getting more perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that so beautifully. I appreciate it. And I'm curious, Ami, if we wanted to also, I know there's a lot of questions that are there, and I'm curious if you wanted to also bring somebody on too that had one of those questions you were talking about, if it's not too soon.
I'm talking while I'm muted.
Yeah.
So maybe just here for everybody who came on, but thank you for being willing to jump on, chat about your worldview in this moment, and we will go ahead and jump over to those Q's and A's. So I think we'll go ahead and move this group back to the panel and then queue up the next person, if that's all right. Ladies,
Thank you. I'm going to give you a
jellyfish. We can check there next time.
I'm going to give you a jellyfish goodbye.
And also, I want to bring your attention to all of the wonderful posts in the Q&A about donating. About halfway through the session, a little bit more halfway. And if you would be kind enough to even make anywhere a donation, you've heard me say it before, I'll say it again, somewhere between $5 and $1 million would be just fine. But really it helps me communicate back to the Institute that these sessions are meaningful to you. When we don't get those donations, people think, oh, maybe this series isn't what people really want. Maybe they don't really want to do these kind of gatherings. And we have all kinds of cool gatherings up ahead for you on social vulnerabilities and racial inequality and disaster. Alternative med on the front lines, really fun stuff, but I'm gonna have a hard time getting them through if we don't know that y'all really like being here. So even if you just donate $5, go to your phone and send a text message to 26989 if you're in the domestic US with one word, support SE, no space in between, or go to traumahealing.org/donate, and there is a link at the bottom for international donors. So I'm sorry I had you on the screen. I probably should have said that. But thank you all for please going ahead and making a little donation for us today and promptly exit the space.
Thank you so much, Ami. I really appreciate it that you're doing that. And it is really exciting that we can offer the free program. So it really does help with donations, not to overemphasize the point. Hi there, Sonia. Did you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, before that, I want to say a big thank you to Amy Lay, who's moderating this call. I really enjoy her energy, the way she has been holding the call. And to you, Glyndie, and a big, big warm hello to Berns, our favorite teacher for the Bangalore batch. So I really like the way this session has been started. It was a beautiful start, and but this question has stayed with me because we learned about coherence from Berns. And today, during the lockdown in India, which is being extended now beyond 40 days, 45 days, I practice the SE learnings that I have picked up. But still, something tells me that the world has completely shifted now. We are now in the VUCA times for keepsake. Maybe we were always there, but we did not recognize it, so that the world keeps shifting daily and maybe even by the hour. So how to find this coherence? Because much as I try, I feel sometimes it keeps slipping out of my hand. And when, let's say, my workload has increased a lot, there are different things that I need to focus on and to gather them together in my normal schedule. So while it delights me that I'm doing much more in that given time span, but to be focusing on finding that coherence, I find the window of opportunity has perhaps lessened.
I think that's a common experience. And when I heard you say that you notice it for a moment and then it's gone, or things change and now I can't find it, your awareness of not being able to find it is an expression of coherence. Now, that can sound weird, and I'll say it again.
Sorry?
Oh, I'll say that again.
Yeah.
You being able to notice that what you were attending to as coherence doesn't seem to be there anymore reflects your capacity to be incoherent. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it can maybe sound paradoxical, but this, I have this broad, very wide experience or perception or idea about what coherence is. So what's working, that's my shorthand version of it, is like what's working.
Yes.
So as you shared that, what I heard is working is your awareness or your witness of your experience is working.
Yes.
So we want more. We want to be able to rely on connection to the something else bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't seem like it's there.
Yeah.
And it's there. There's still something there. The planet still spins. It's still moving around the sun.
Yes.
That has not changed. Well, who knows if it's changed or not, but it seems to be much the same.
Yeah.
The sun comes up and the sun goes down.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what's the same can be a reflection of coherence, but that which is still working reflects it. And there are some things working better while this global experience is changing how we live and may change further how we live. We don't know that yet.
Yes.
But there's still something working. And can we notice it? So as you go about your day, thinking there's chaos, we're headed for destruction, all those thoughts, that kind of prediction, the attention goes to that, while you have this awareness of looking for something else. So this, for me, comes down to where do I put my attention?
Yes.
And so just for me, with you here, hearing your question, hearing your description of your experience, I hear what's working.
Yeah.
Now, there's also distress and worry and curiosity fed a little bit from that fear, but there's more than that for you. And then as you work with people who are also looking for predictability and assurance and safety, where is that? How is that possible given the chaos or the disturbance in the field?
Yeah.
Where within that is something still working?
Mhm.
So that's a long response. And I don't know if it answers your question, but that's what comes to me to say.
Thank you. I would like to share how your answer has landed on me. Actually, the way you have begun this call has also given me quite a few answers, because the introduction of the pause and rhythm has a lot of meaning for me. Um, I notice a lot more rhythm now after the COVID-19 in my life than it was there before. Perhaps there is more focus, there is more gathering of my wits around what is in front of me, what is on my plate, and what do I want to do with it. Uh, and I also like the visual of the sea because I have a very, very huge affinity with the nature. It brought out a very positive impact on my breathing. I could notice I suddenly became too aware of the breathing and the exercise that you shared, especially when you said that you are allowed to not to look at the screen all the time. It was a very, very liberating statement. So taken together, this is a very, very deep share for me. The answers have begun to come right from the call. And what you mentioned about awareness being a form of coherence also connects with my thought process. And thank you so much for empowering me with that thought. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Lovely to talk with you.
And Sonia, there's something so beautiful about the rhythm and the way that you talk that I was enjoying as well.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes this rhythm that we also get from each other, that helps us in holding and brings more coherence in. So thank you for bringing your own being here.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Wholeheartedly.
I feel honored to be here.
I feel so honored by your sense of honor right now. Like, I really just love that you said the answers were coming just by being on this call, and how everything is already being molded and set. And I feel like you're the secret plant who's also like giving us this sense of like profound graciousness of being present. So thank you. I'm getting my session out of this. Thanks, everybody. So lovely. Really appreciate you being online with us, Sonia. And I'll bring someone else online next if that's okay. And I just really peace to you and everyone in the world. And there's just so many people who are shouting out from India, Berns. So Sonia, I know you speak on so many of your peers and colleagues' behalf.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Berns.
Yeah, okay. So awesome. Beautiful stuff, guys. This is you're creating such a profound connection today, and I want to thank you to everybody is saying that in the chat. That's what's coming up. So, and also some good questions. Are you ready for another? Here we go. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Berns.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for doing these calls. I didn't think I would get picked. I was doing some yoga after listening to the call since we got permission not to stare at the screen. So my question was, in this era of telehealth, of what are, I'm an intermediate 2 student right now with Berns, and so I'm relatively new as a practitioner, and I have been doing most of my work as a mindfulness coach on video anyway, but it has obviously increased a lot. Now everybody's on video. And my curiosity was if you could talk about, both of you ideally, what are some practices that you might do before or after being on Zoom calls all day? And specifically, I'm talking about, specifically, I'm noticing energetically the level of demand on my system it's just through the roof. And so besides the SE practices of grounding and orienting and resourcing, if there are other things, I'm trying to spend, like after I do a session, I'll try to close my computer and I'll go outside for a quick walk, and I'll put my feet in the earth. I'll try to touch something. So I'm getting the rhythm of my own practices to support myself energetically right now. And I would just love to hear what you all are doing as well. Thanks.
That's such a great question. And there's so many folks who are asking similar things in my own practice, and so many people that are needing to find ways to kind of refresh their own systems in between clients. And I just have a little exercise to share, and then Berns can share as well. Is that all right? Okay, great. So I'm going to move my camera over this way, my computer. You may see a dog in the frame here. Where is he?
I hope so.
There's some fluff down there. There's some fluff right there. He looks like a sheepskin, actually. Okay, so I'm gonna, and this is something you can do with clients too, but I'm thinking of this just as for practitioners at the moment. And then I'm just standing further back here. So you can you see my head and you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just standing further back so you can just see my entire arms here. So many times when we're with people, we're also holding some of their concerns, and it can be hard to sometimes let them go and transition out of that to the next client, and that we need some time to come back into a reset. And it sounds like you have lots of great ways to do that already. But one thing that I like to do is first kind of feel into that sense of my own inner connectivity, and sense into too what I feel like I would like to just let go of in sensation. Sometimes I feel that in my chest, in my shoulders, my gut. And then just imagining with a gentle pushing out of the arms, just letting it push out, drain out through the arms, and then push through the legs and push out and let that drain out through the legs by pushing down into the ground with your feet. And then take a pause and just notice what happens. So this is a combination of a little imagination, a little movement, and sensing in the body. And see what kind of space happens. So that's part one. And then part two is, again with the arms, just reaching out and then taking in the nourishment from the environment. It could be from a tree, it could be just from a general sense of spaciousness. And slowly, gently bringing that in and gathering it in to your body, to your chest or to your belly. And take a moment to feel how that gathering in feels for your whole system. Now that can also go into a little bit of a rhythmic movement. So that pushing out and releasing, letting something drain with both arms and legs. And then that gathering in of what's nourishing, what feels whole. And taking a little space in between for a little bit of, I just had a little deeper inhalation there. So this is also a kind of way of experientially experiencing rhythm. And I'm thinking of Veronica too, who came on earlier, right? Non-auditory ways of finding rhythm. Just notice how you're feeling aside anybody out there who's practicing along with me right now. See how the body feels overall as you perhaps settle in a little deeper, maybe you're orienting to the environment's a little bit different right now. Presence might be a little different. And I'm going to shift over to Berns in a moment, but just one last shot of someone who's pretty good at settling there, Mr. Logan. He's hanging on by a thread onto that chair, but he looks like he's enjoying it.
Well, there's two things that I had hoped to show today, and this I think it'll apply for either ourselves as practitioners and to support clients. There's a potential hypnotic thing that can happen by being focused on this screen, and you know, I think it's easier to lose connection with my body. And so it's like, what else do we need to do to compensate or to supplement that? And so touching myself, maybe even modeling it with our clients, having them touch themselves in some way, helps me come back into my body. So any kind of tapping, just for this is really just what works for me. But it feels really good, and particularly if we live alone, we're not being touched, and so it's like, oh, this really has, like, this feels so good to just tap my body as much as I'm comfortable to do, and as hard or as soft as I'm comfortable with. And it just helps to bring a different experience of myself out of the numbness, out of the machinery in some way, back into my skin, back into my muscles, back into my bones. So in addition to the you know, going outside, feet in the dirt, feeling the wind, maybe touching things outside, help you to be more present, more there in yourself, then this can be another tool to help you, but it can also be something that we support our clients with, to come into themselves in a way that's within their capacity, that matches where they're at. Does it make the difference that we're hoping for? So for me, the intention is to be more here. Anything I can do to be more here, more in myself, then I'm more here with you. So that's one thing. The other thing is what I call the scarf approach. And so this came on as an accident in terms of, I forget where I was doing this, but I just had to share. I was giving it a little tug, like a little squeeze, and it's like, oh my goodness, I like that. Like, that feels really nice. And again, if we're not being hugged or not being touched, this can support. This external support gives our body from the inside a rest. They can let go. So my shoulders let go. So I can put this anywhere around me and tug on it to the degree that feels right, and experiment with just a little or a lot, and notice how my body responds. And so I relax a little bit. I come into myself a little bit, because if I'm up and tense, working hard, focused, then I'm up and out more than I'm back and in. So this scarf approach can facilitate a different body response. So it can be around shoulders. It can be around the respiratory diaphragm.
Do it with us, everybody. Just popping in to tell you, grab your scarf and follow along with Berns. Okay, I'm out.
So it can be anywhere. It can be around the hips,
Yeah.
around the kidneys. Just, oh, like where does it feel good to have that sense of support just through a little bit of pressure, a little bit of contact? Does it create relief? Does it support you to be more there, more in your body? Less tension.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. So, something changes. Right?
I feel Burns.
Yeah, that's what we're going for, right? Is something to be different. Hopefully, in the direction of, oh, this I like. This I like.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, coming into contact with difference might be a little scary, because sometimes difference gets associated with, oh, this will be bad. So if we're doing this with clients, we titrate the experience. And for ourselves as well, like what do we need? What feels good? What feels like, okay, now that's enough. So we're doing work with applying pressure for some other part of the body to have support to not work so hard. Ideally, if we have a person outside of us doing it for us, we just get to not work so hard. But that's not today.
It definitely gives me a feeling of being held. It kind of reminds me of having my shoulders held when I do it up here.
Mm-hmm.
Never use this. It's great.
Mm-hmm. And it could be a scarf or a towel or a shawl. Blankets create a bit of a different impact, but not in the first.
It's fun experimenting with how much I'm pulling, and
Yeah.
I get a little bit more of a containment with that.
Right.
I'm wondering if I might make a comment.
Of course.
So it's really powerful reflection to what you said about, not being out and in the screen, but really being back in my body. And it was so interesting because when I was thinking of like, oh, what can I do before and after the session? And you're offering these ideas, and I have something to try thanks to what Glyndie shared with us. But there's also some way of giving myself support during the session, so perhaps I don't get so depleted. And I hadn't thought of to do something like that. So that's really wonderful. Thank you.
I just find it really helps me, to do some kind of transition and do a little release and nourishment. Hey there, Ami.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hi guys. And Felina, I love what you just Felina, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. A lot of people are saying that, like, what do we do in the Zoom space? So I think you just spoke to a lot of inquiry people are having, just really reminding us that you can be doing this yourself right now to be able to enjoy, experience this more. It's making me do it. So thanks, guys. So just a moment ago, we were trying to bring on sweet Emily Benson, and we might have seen her pop in for a moment. We do have her back. So Emily, without dropping you off the line this time, I'm sorry that was disruptive. I like
no worries.
Let's see if we can't hear your video, see your video also. Oh, good. That looks like it made it. Welcome, Emily. Why don't you go ahead with
Thank you. Well, I thought the last question was a really nice segue into what mine is. Is it frozen again? Oh boy.
Well, I hear you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, Berns. I studied with you and Dee in Chicago. It's so nice to see you, and Glyndie too. Glyndie, I've been doing the ventral vagal lizard all week with everybody, and that was sort of the driver for my question again today, which is, are there any sort of secret trade tips for self-touch, kind of outside of, brainstem, gut, the SE hug, really wanting to help folks who are used to being on the table in my office, really feel that personal connection in ways that I might not know how to do that.
Well, doesn't that sound like the theme for next week?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Awesome.
I can wait.
Well, okay, that sounds like a good cue to tell you that we do have Kathy Kane and Abby
Yay!
joining us next week. So for those of you who are familiar with
Perfect.
touchwork, you'll know that'll be an awesome session. I mean, well, it might be an interesting
Might
session.
be.
I don't know what kind of session it'll be. It might be terrible. Who knows?
No, it won't.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to hold off. I'm actually studying with Kathy right now, and Abby was my trainer for SE, so that's delightful to hear.
Fantastic.
I just wanted to say one thing in terms of self-touch is, really encouraging people to explore that. And the exercise that Berns just did is also another way to add some pressure and holding. Finding, and part of that exploration with the client and doing, sure, there's a lot of different holds that we can do. We can do different kinds of, slapping and squeezing and being present in different ways. But most importantly is that quality of rapport and the exploration of what's working and what might not be in the moment, and then being with that. But there'll be more next week.
Yeah, I think you'll get more specific pieces, from their expertise.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Emily, for coming on with us.
Sure.
Okay.
Great. So I just want to point out that it's almost hour. We have told people that these sessions will be 90 minutes, but you also are noticing we're doing a fun little gimme. Seems like a little consistently in this series we're saying, hey, there's an extra 15 minutes, guys. So I'm going to say, Berns, Glyndie, are you up for an extra 15 minutes?
I am.
Okay, good. Cool. Well, so I know some of you will have to leave and we'll miss you, and I'll let you know that the video will be available online. We'll still look out for your donations. Sorry, I'm harping that to death today, but also really want to shout out India, Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, and the US. You're champs. We have pulled in, I think, about $400 today. The cost to run this session is about $3,000. We do have tech support on the line with us and payment for staff and faculty. So if we can get anywhere near halfway to that, it would be great. So please do keep the donations coming. I know some of you are probably waiting till the end, and I can appreciate and respect that, but please do remember us. Tax season is extended here in the United States. So that said, I'd also like to point out membership. If you're not a member with the SE Institute, you can be. Go to traumahealing.org/membership and you can get listed in our directory. We are getting a lot of inquiries from different kinds of people, different frontline workers saying, how do I work with one of your therapists who's trained in neurobiological interventions or somatic experiencing, whatever they come to us looking for. We know that that's you guys. And if you're listed in the membership directory, we can just point people directly to that. I also want you to stay tuned for what's going to be launching this week, which is the SE Crisis Stabilization and Safety Aid. We've developed a protocol to use adapted SE variations in the field for sort of short-term crisis intervention interruption purposes. So stay tuned. We're very excited to launch that and the various forms of peer-to-peer training that will be coming with that I hope will be useful for everybody here. So that said, would you guys like another question? Would you like to do an exercise? What would feel good now?
I'm up for an exercise.
Oh, fun. Would you like me to bring people online for an exercise?
I think that would be that. Sure, if people, well, how would it, they should know what it might be before they decide to come on.
You're much kinder than I am, Berns.
Sometimes I'm not.
In this moment.
Right. So
I'm going to lower hands first. So in case your hand was raised earlier, I want you to hear what Berns says and then choose if you want to come on screen. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So if you've worked with me, you know that one of the other themes that I have in working is that I talk to people about not getting too serious, and that we as practitioners can tend to get serious about the work and doing good work and being with people in a certain way, and this is really serious. And I talk about the more serious we get, the more sympathetically charged we get, and the less present we are. So I like to encourage people not to get too serious. And here we are at this time of in our lives where it feels really serious. It feels hard. It feels daunting, and we're more sympathetically toned in a way in response to threat, in response to the unknown, in response to fear. So sometimes it can feel hard to just lighten up. It can feel hard to just enjoy ourselves. It can feel hard to laugh. And so what I want to invite you to do is to come and laugh with me. And if, you know, there's a very few people, and I don't know if you're here today, you have heard me laugh. And there's a very particular laugh I have. I don't know if it'll happen today, but my intention is to laugh with you. And, you know, it's like, oh, like you expect me to laugh on demand? Are you crazy? So, yes, in a way, but we have a little prompt or a primer for us to laugh. So if you'd like to be on screen, raise your hand to join us in a group laugh.
Oh, they're signing up. Wow, great.
They're coming on.
Well, it's nice to see your faces coming on. I'm going to go to gallery view so I can see you all. You might want to do the same.
I think they don't have that option. I think they see the gallery view that we've already set.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Hello. Hey, Mary Kay up in Derry. All right. Cicely, Genevieve, Avdeep.
Or if you guys want to be a little chatty while we're bringing you on, you're welcome to do that. Please make sure you do start your video. And while you're on, so that I know the world can see about 25 faces, but I see a lot more than you asking to come on screen. So we may, in the midst, like turn your video screen off, which makes other people's visible. And I think we're just experimenting with this technology, and that might be the way to make sure as many faces can be shared as possible. So if we're in the middle of this and your video goes off, do not be alarmed. It was just to rotate out some of the other faces, so we're all here. All right, I think we have quite a few on the line at the moment, and we might just go ahead and call that it.
Sure.
I think we have about 50 people on the line so far.
So even if you're not on the screen, feel free to join us. And so we're going to play a laughing track, so to speak. And, you know, if you have the impulse to join us, please do. And we'll just hang out with this for a couple of minutes. And then there'll be silence, and we'll just be with the silence for a bit. And then we'll see where we go from there. And okay.
How nice to take this time, this moment, to just be with the aftermath or the continuing internal laughter. You get curious who is noticing more space or more warmth or more energy or more rest.
We can come together in laughter and we can come together in sorrow. And this laugh is sometimes seen as the other side of the crying. You can have tears from both laughing and crying. And there's something viscerally stimulating in laughing and crying. And I was more interested in inviting the laughter today. And then just noticing, what's there, what follows that experience. Sometimes we get very serious about not laughing or nothing's funny. And it can be that nothing is funny. And it can also be that we put ourselves in a position of not letting ourselves lighten up. And it can be a challenge. And it was lovely to look and see you laugh or see you smile or see you not laughing. Just being with us.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, Berns. Thank you so much.
So it looks like we have about 5 minutes left. 4 minutes left. So I'm not sure, Ami, how you want to
Yeah.
so, proceed.
Thank you. I just noticed so much freedom in that last exercise. Like sorry if it was weird if some of your guys' videos were starting and stopping. I was just wanting to rotate so the world could be with as many of you as we can see. Like we can see we've got 3 screens of you, and I just wanted to see how many people could like have the freedom of choice of like, I'm just going to listen to the laugh, or I'm going to sit here uncomfortably, or I'm going to engage, or like that whole freedom is like, to me, really unifying. Like that's what I love about SE classrooms, right? Like it's just such a free space, like a very liberated, present, real space. I just got that here. So thanks for creating that for us, Berns. In our last 5 minutes, I could take everybody off the screen again, or let me put this to you. Or we want to do maybe one more closing exercise. And it might put you on that awkward spot again too, but hey, you're already here, so maybe you dig it. If you don't, go ahead and stop your video if you don't want to be a part of this. And the way you stop your video is I think you scroll right over yourself and you have 3 little dots and you have the option to stop your video if you'd like to not be in this space right here. So your freedom and choice is yours.
But wait to hear what it is first, maybe.
What's that? Okay, so, well, I'll ask Glyndie and Berns a question. Actually, while we're all sitting here, we're all looking at you guys, and then we're going to do a little closing exercise. But the question I have for you is kind of what you've been saying to us, which is in this time together that we've all already shared, what stands out to you as what's something you're going to take away from already having been here with us?
For me, it's the impact of coming into connection, like at the very beginning, when I started to talk and feel the shakiness, it's like, oh, this coming into connection, knowing that you're all there, whether we know each other or not. There's something just very, very moving for me about that. So that's what I'm taking away.
Lovely. Yes, and for me, I'm just resonating with, it's like my entire diaphragm area feels like it's actually, something's released and kind of opened up. And there's something about the experience of connection. And I've been feeling that each week, but particularly this week, I feel like there's a little bit more of kind of a visceral sense of receiving. The real connection, not the virtual connection, but the real feeling of being connected with a group, and in a way surrendering to that, because there's this unknown quality of that, of what will happen, and so there's this kind of receiving and surrendering into that unknown, and feeling really grateful for your graciousness and your openness, and your passion too, for being present. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing the impact with you guys. So everybody who's on this line, all our participants, just really like get it. Like these guys, I'm pointing here because this is where they are on my Brady Bunch screen. But these guys, like we're all in this so together, like mutually impacted by the choice and freedom to do this. I love that. So here's another little impact. I know both Glyndie and Berns have done a lot of work in India, reflected by the many people from India who are on the line with us today. So in the spirit of that, I know Glyndie worked there after the tsunami in a big way, for some of you who don't know that, and Berns teaches there. That said, Berns is part of a trio of Canadian faculty who are currently doing Dance Around the World every Wednesday, 15-minute dance breaks with the Somatic Experiencing community. You're all invited, trying to go as many different time zones as possible. I know this is hitting different spots. This week on Wednesday, the dance session will be, I'll do this in SETI headquarters time. It'll be at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So go ahead and translate that to wherever, no?
8 a.m.
Oh, good. All right. We'll make sure we get that 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Which is a great time for dancing where I'm at. We'll be getting together for a dance on. 15 minutes of dancing. So go check Facebook, Instagram, and that's where you'll get the link to join us. Please do wear costumes, have fun. We had an amazing time last week. Oh my gosh, it was great. You think Berns' shirt is good today? OMG. So with no further ado, if we get our tech to start queuing up, everybody ready for a little authentic movement, somatic?
Laugh and dance, laugh and dance, laugh and dance, and cry and laugh.
All of it.
That was awesome.
You're also crying and laughing while you're dancing right now. Thanks, guys. This was another just miraculous, wonderful, beautiful showing of our community and gathering. So grateful right now to Glyndie and Berns for just really queuing up an incredible session of being together here this week. Thank you all so much. Special shout out to all the folks behind the scenes on this. I wish you guys could see the other beautiful faces that have been just working all week to get all of our Facebook posts up and all our things sorted and all our technology. Rebecca and Laura, the website updated, and Jocelita and Christy are thinking about how to get creative to support things in this time. And Marv, our executive director, who we all love so much, who's just letting us be courageous in these times. So much gratitude to everyone at the Trauma Institute for trying to get real, live, active way of being in service of the community. Especially, we always know a huge, tremendous thank you to Dr. Peter Levine for giving us this modality that causes us all to get to know each other now. Wouldn't have known you if we didn't get to spend this afternoon together. I like how I love the faces we see now and the more that are coming each time.
Yeah, you know, it occurs to me too, it's like we're meeting, a lot of us are meeting for the first time in this kind of format, and I'm so looking forward to meeting you in person and realizing, wait a minute, I've met you before. This is exciting in a different way, but it is a meeting. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Thanks so much to Berns for coming on and bringing your wisdom.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week. Same time, same place. Really much love, respect, peace, and wellness to everybody and all your communities, all your clients, your family. We wish that everyone is well right now. Stay in touch. Thanks.
Bye.